I would note we are sitting on a committee where multiple members of this committee, the senior Democrats in the committee, happily filibustered Judge Janice Rogers Brown, a very qualified African-American woman nominated to the D.C. Circuit, and they did so precisely because they wanted to prevent Judge Brown from becoming Justice Brown, the first African-American woman. Joe Biden was among the Democrats filibustering the first African-American woman nominated to the D.C. Circuit. The senior Democrats on this committee also filibustered Miguel Estrada. As the staff for Senator Ted Kennedy said in writing at the time, the Democrats filibustered Miguel Estrada, quote, because he is Hispanic. They were explicitly racial. If you are Hispanic or African American and you dare depart from their political orthodoxy, they will crush you, they will attack you, they will slander you, they will filibuster you. So this is not about race.
As to the historic nature of your appointment, I understand. But when I get lectured about this from my Democratic colleagues, I remember Janice Rogers Brown, an African-American woman, that was filibustered by the same people praising you. I remember Miguel Estrada, one of the finest people I ever met, completely wiped out. Didn't make it through the gang of 14, whatever gang I was in. I've been in so many I can't remember. He didn't make the cut. Well-lived life just completely ruined. So if you're Hispanic or African-American conservative, it's about your philosophy. Now it's going to be about the historic nature of the pick. It's going to be about your philosophy. The bottom line here is when it is about philosophy, when it's somebody of color on our side, it's about we're all racist if we ask hard questions. It's not going to fly with us. We're used to it by now, at least I am.
I was disappointed that we weren't able to get bipartisan agreement to ask for Judge Jackson's documents from her time as vice chair of the Sentencing Commission. The commission is an independent agency created to advise and assist Congress and the executive branch. Unfortunately, it sounds like we'll have to wait until those documents are required to be released, and that will be about 20 years from now. Democrats have argued that Judge Jackson's time on the commission is an important part of her experience that she'll draw on as a judge. The Democrats are right on that point. That's why it would have been good to see what her views were as the head of the commission. Explained in a letter to Senator Durbin, the public documents turned over to this committee represent the consensus views of the commission and not necessarily Judge Jackson's own views.
Some of the cases from your time on the court, the district court, the federal district court, that I hope that we can talk about. Let me just run through a few of them so you know exactly which ones I mean. United States versus Hawkins. The federal sentencing guidelines recommended a sentence of 97 to 121 months. Prosecutors recommended 24 months, and Jackson gave the defendant 3 months. Versus Chazen. The federal guidelines recommended 78 to 97 months, and prosecutor recommended the same. Judge Jackson sentenced him to 28 months. Versus Cooper. Guidelines recommended 151 to 188 months in prison. That's a long time. The prosecutor recommended 72 months. Judge Jackson gave the defendant 60 months, which was the lowest sentence permitted by the law. States versus Down, that's what guidelines recommended 70 to 87 months, and prosecutor recommended 70 months, and Jackson sentenced him to only 60 months. Again, that's the lowest level that was permitted by law in that case. States versus Stewart, guidelines recommended 97 to 121 months. Prosecutor recommended 97 months. Jackson gave him 57 months. States versus Sears, guidelines recommended 97 to 121 months. Prosecutor recommended 97 months. Jackson gave him 71 months. States versus Savage, the guidelines recommended 46 to 57 months, and prosecutor recommended 49 months, and Jackson sentenced him to 37. And what concerns me, and I've been very candid about this, is that in every case, in each of these 7, Judge Jackson handed down a lenient sentence that was below what the federal guidelines recommended and below what prosecutors requested. And so I think there's a lot to talk about there, and I look forward to talking about it. Now, I will note that some have said that the federal sentencing guidelines are too harsh. The chairman quoted someone earlier today who takes that point of view. I'll just be honest, I can't say that I agree with that.
Now we're facing a choice sponsored by the most radical elements of the Democratic Party when it comes to how to be a judge. They have the most radical view of what a judge should do, and you were their choice. And you'll be asked, do you support expanding the Supreme Court? I hope you can give us an answer, because it shouldn't be hard. Either you do or you don't. Justice Ginsburg said no. She thought if you just changed the number of the court every time somebody new came in power, it would ruin the court in the eyes of the public and make it a joke over time. I agree with that. So I hope you can give us an answer to that question, because I think the court would be better off if the judges stood up for the court. If the judges told politicians, don't play this game with the court, because over time nobody wins.
You have praised the 1619 Project, which argues the U.S. is a fundamentally racist country, and you have made clear that you believe judges must consider critical race theory when deciding how to sentence criminal defendants. Is it your personal hidden agenda to incorporate critical race theory into our legal system? These are answers that the American people need to know.
I'm a bit troubled by some of the positions you've taken and arguments that you've made, representing people who have committed terrorist acts against the United States and other dangerous criminals. As someone who has deep respect for the adversarial system of justice, I understand the importance of zealous advocacy. But it appears that sometimes this zealous advocacy has gone beyond the pale. And in some instances, it appears that your advocacy has bled over into your decision-making process as a judge. You've had some cases reversed, like all judges do, but some of them were particularly high profile when you ruled against a Republican administration. I'm eager to understand why in some instances you found that you could not decide a particular issue, while in other instances you enjoined a Republican administration from implementing its policies. I'm also interested, as others have mentioned, in your opinion, why pro-abortion, dark money groups like Demand Justice, and anti-religious liberty groups are pouring millions of dollars into a public campaign in support of your nomination. Judge Jackson, these are some of the questions and concerns I have.